Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Imam Aziz, inshallah. I hope you're doing well. I did pray Maghrib, by the way. That's why I was a couple of minutes late. So I strongly recommend, if you have not prayed Maghrib, please do so, and then catch up with us, inshallah ta'ala. Again, Maghrib is due now for about 10 minutes, so please make sure that you've prayed Maghrib before joining the live feed. We're probably going to go on for about 40-45 minutes, so it'll be late, so you don't want to delay your Maghrib that long, inshallah. Just a couple of announcements, inshallah, before we start, to give some of you a chance to pray Maghrib and others to trickle in and tune in, inshallah. If you have not done so already, please join. Please visit the TarbiyaLive webpage, live.tarbiya.org. With the coronavirus pandemic, obviously we've moved everything. All of our programs have now moved online, on social media and so forth. So you'll be able, inshallah, to get a chance to see what Tarbiya has to offer in these times of crisis. Inshallah, hopefully it won't be long before we are back to our masjid and our physical work on the ground, but I think we will have learned a lot from this crisis. We have been always kind of like a little bit hesitant about social media when it comes to live programs. Now that we've been doing it for a while, it seems like not such a bad idea. So inshallah, even after we are back to our normal operations, I think we will continue the good habit of broadcasting our programs, our events, our activities, our lectures, talks, khutbahs, so forth, even tafsirah, so that people who are not able to physically attend, inshallah, we'll still have a chance to follow up with what we're doing. Right after tafsirah, inshallah, around 9 p.m., Imam Kamran will conduct another Sunnah session, so please tune in for that, inshallah. This is like the late show for some of you, so you will enjoy that as well, inshallah ta'ala. The wellness webinar this coming Sunday at 5:30, and we are happy to host Brother Josh Rahbar, who will talk to us about physical fitness while being stuck at home. Pretty poignant reality for many of us. Also, this coming Sunday school is fully in session, online as well. The teachers conduct the classes with their students on web conferencing, and they send the assignments to the parents throughout the week. So alhamdulillah, none of that has been affected. So please make sure that you look at your email and your messages and tune in on Sundays, inshallah, so that the kids continue to benefit with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Enough of the announcements, and inshallah, I hope that you guys prayed Maghrib and that you have your Qur'ans with you. A little piece of paper and a pen can also go a long way, as our teachers and scholars taught us. The best way to retain knowledge is by writing it down. So make sure, inshallah, that you keep that in mind. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. With the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the last couple of weeks we've been blessed with the opportunity to cover 2 sessions of one of the most incredible surahs of the Quran, one of the most powerful surahs of the Quran, with one of the most amazing and incredible narration. It's a surah that is about a story of a human being. He was a prophet as well, but the story is more about him as a human and a lot less about him as a prophet. Surah Yussuf, brothers and sisters, is a surah that we are covering right now. It's a timeless surah with an absolutely incredible set of morals that we are examining as we navigate through this beautiful surah. As I said before, it possesses all the necessary elements that make a very, very effective and powerful story. Drama at its best. It's a beautiful painting that is drawn by the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, giving us giving us a little peek into the intimate details, the struggles, the ups and downs, the moments of happiness and joy and the moments of sadness and despair, that Yusuf alayhi salam went through. And as I said, as a reminder, as I said before, the surah was revealed at that critical time, towards the end of the economic boycott that Quraysh conducted against the Muslims and against the tribe of Banu Hashim. And so it was revealed right around that time when this unsuspecting non-Muslim hero, Hisham ibn Amr, who was from the tribe of Banu Lu'ay ibn Amr, he was not Muslim, but he basically led a cohort of other Meccan leaders to dismantle and disband, this sort of like illegal, unconstitutional, dishonorable boycott that was conducted against a very important branch of Quraysh, and that is the people of Banu Hashim. And throughout this period, the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims were realizing that while their efforts were necessary, right, doing what they could in order to basically disband the boycott, they realized that relief came from the most unexpected doors, something that they could have never predicted, that it was basically a non-Muslim leader with other non-Muslim leaders that made it happen, okay? And the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims started increasingly realizing this very simple but fundamental fact of life. And that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects us to put the effort. He expects us to put the endeavors. He expects us to struggle, but ultimately Allah wants to teach us that yes, our effort is necessary, but the results may look very, very different from what we had planned for, right? And relief may come from the most unexpected doors, right? So I still need to put the effort, and then I surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and see His own plan unfold. It also taught the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims a very important lesson of life, and that is, it is very possible that a series of events in one's life could seemingly be very negative and very disheartening and extremely, incredibly bad, right, in every sense of the way. But when you take a step back and you look at the sum total of those events, you will realize that things still worked to your favor, still worked to the favor of the deen and to the favor of righteousness. Hence the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that story, which basically is as I said before, it's theatrical scenes, right? It's snapshots into all these events that happened in series in the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. It's almost like you're watching a theatrical play, right? The curtain goes up, and then there's a scene, and then the curtain goes down, right? They change the set, and then the curtain goes up, and then another scene. Almost all the scenes that we see in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam are scenes of negativity, scenes of despair, scenes of struggling, right? But ultimately, when you look at the grand picture, the grand scheme of things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still gave His triumph to Yusuf alayhi salam, gave a power to Yusuf alayhi salam. The people of Egypt and Yusuf's family, the Hebrews, were all saved, right? And that is the message to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they were going through the struggles of Mecca and as they were going through the struggles of the economic boycott in particular, that put the effort and don't mind as much, that the picture looks so grim, right? Ultimately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that manages this universe. And I think that we can very, very clearly see that and feel it. It's so palpable in our time right now, with the spread of this pandemic. It looks bleak, it looks gloomy, it looks grim, it looks like, we're not able to pray at our masjid, it looks like we're not able to, I don't know what's going to happen in Ramadan, right? But I know that I still need to put the effort, and this is us right here putting the effort, right? The house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still in need, and I don't know how those needs will be fulfilled. You know what? It doesn't matter. لِلْبَيْتِ رَبٌّ يَحْمِي. The house of Allah has its Lord to preserve it and protect it. So all I know is that I need to put the effort. And I don't know exactly how my efforts will translate into results either, right? That's the key right there. It's key to faith, right? If it's just a matter of, okay, I need to do A in order to get B and then do B in order to get C, right? That's not faith, right? That's just logic. But faith requires me to put A in order to get B, but I end up getting X, right? And then I will put C in order to get D, but I will end up getting Y, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that handles the details. No matter how bleak and grim it may seem, ultimately it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Last time we covered the first 10 ayat, of Surah Yusuf, right? How he had his dream, and how in his dream he basically saw that his 11 brothers and his father and his mother, basically, the planets, the stars, the sun and the moon, right, were bowing to him out of reverence, out of deference, out of respect, right? And when he talked to his father about this dream, his father kind of like took it very seriously, and he realized that this is the springboard that will launch the career of Yusuf alayhi salam as a prophet. But at the same time, he wanted him to be cautious, because, hey, your brother's going to be jealous if they heard this, okay? And he knew his own kids. Apparently, information still leaked, and they decided to basically conspire and collude in order to remove the flesh from bone, remove Yusuf alayhi salam from his beloved father. And let's examine together, inshallah, beginning with ayah number 11, how the brothers of Yusuf approached their dad, Yaqub alayhi salam, in order to carry out that evil plan, that malicious plan of basically snatching Yusuf away from him. Look at ayah number 11. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, they say to him, and they said to him, Ya Abana, ma lak, oh, our father, Ya Abana, ma laka, la ta'manna ala Yusuf. Why are you not trusting us with Yusuf? Wa inna lahu lanasihun. All we want really is what's best for him, right? We are his well-wishers. Subhanallah. The language of the ayah tells you that they're saying it matter of fact. Father, you don't trust us with Yusuf. What does that indicate? It indicates that they have been approaching their father from before, asking him to allow Yusuf to spend time with them, but their father has been saying no, right? That's why they're making the assumption, Father, you don't trust us with Yusuf, right? Why are you not trusting us with Yusuf? So there's precedence to what is happening here. And here's what I wanted to say. I don't think that Yaqub alayhi salam, in his wildest dreams, ever imagined that his sons could actually conspire to hurt their own little brother, right? I mean, no father would imagine any such thing, especially a prophet who thinks, okay, I mean, I've put a little, raising into my kids. There's no way that they're going to be like that, right? So my theory is that Yaqub alayhi salam always felt that Yusuf is destined for greatness. He needs to be doing something else. He needs to be reading or learning or growing or making tafakkur or making dhikr, right? Because he wanted him to be prepared for prophethood, right? Whereas the other brothers were probably involved in manual labor, working the fields and herding the flocks, the livestock and stuff like that. So they were like, why is he not coming with us, right? Why do we have to do this stuff? Let him come with us. Let him work with us. And he would always say no, not because he distrusted them or mistrusted them. It's because he had something else, in mind for Yusuf. And here's what happens psychologically. When you go to your father and you say to him, why are you not trusting me with Yusuf? It's almost like they're telling him, hey, our interpretation of you not allowing Yusuf to come with us is that you mistrust us. So you automatically put your father on the defensive, who will naturally say, no, I did not say that this was a matter of trust, right? I never said that this was a matter of trust. So it's almost like that is their little evil way to get their father, to put their father on the defensive, and to get him to, as a gesture of goodwill, to let Yusuf go with them, right? That's my interpretation of why they basically invoked this particular statement. La ta'manna ala Yusuf. Why are you not trusting us with Yusuf, right? أرسله معنا غدا, ayah number 12. أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب. Let him come with us tomorrow to the desert, right? We will start the day with, herding the sheep, the flock, the livestock, right? Teach him a little bit about, the responsibility of manhood. Let him work a little bit hard with us. It'll be good for him. It'll be healthy for him, right? And then after we're done working, we're balanced. We're not gonna work him, his behind off the entire day. No, we're gonna work a little bit, and then after that, we're gonna play. We're gonna have a little fun, right? أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون. And we will protect him, Father. Don't worry about it. Ayah number 13. Yaqub alayhi salam responds and he says, so it's not that I don't trust you guys. قال إني لا يحزنني أن تذهبوا به وأخاف أن يأكله الذئب وأنتم عنه غافلون. It would grieve me so much that you take my little son with you, and I'm worried that out of neglect. See, I'm not saying mistrust or anything. I'm just saying out of neglect, maybe the wolf will eat him. Right? In his wildest dreams. I don't think that using that particular example, right, meant as much to Yaqub alayhi salam. He was probably just using the most extreme scenario, the most extreme, the worst case scenario. Basically, he was telling them, what if you guys get so busy with your stuff and then I don't know, the wolf eats him? Subhanallah. I mean, we say stuff like that all the time. I don't know. What if the meteor hits you on the head, right? What if a building falls on you and crushes you? Like all these extreme, impossible scenarios. Sometimes we use that in our language. Yaqub alayhi salam never imagined that this was actually going to happen to his own son, right? And it also tells you how the other sons were so unimaginative, right? They were so unimaginative, and I will talk about this, a little bit later. They literally used the example that their father used, and that became the excuse as to why Yusuf alayhi salam disappeared, right? So their response is, don't worry, Dad. Number 14. If the wolf really ate him, and we are, such a large number of brothers were strong, then we should perish ourselves, right? Then we are such a group of losers, right? So they were trying to basically ease their father into allowing this whole thing to happen. Subhanallah, it's one thing to commit a sin, in a moment of blindness and in a moment of passion, when your judgment is suspended temporarily. But these guys are calculating, right? These guys are premeditating the entire plan step by step, and they were at it every day until they got their father to agree. SubhanAllah. And the story evolves into more and more heart-wrenching drama here. Ayah number 50. فَلَمَّا ذَهَبُوا بِهِ وَأَجْمَعُوا أَن يَجْعَلُوهُ فِي غَيَابَةِ الْجُبِّ. And so when they went away with him, they unanimously, now see, ajma'u means that the majority ruled, right, that they would cast him into the dark depths of the desert well. What does that tell you? So earlier in their private conversations together as brothers, they were having a debate, right? Some of them said, let's just kill him. And others said, let's just cast him off, right? Put him in faraway land. And some said, let's just put him in the desert well, right? If he dies, he dies. If he gets picked up by somebody else, then he's not our problem. He's out of our hair, right? It seems that debate ensued again when they took poor Yusuf from his father, Yaqub alayhi salam, and they went away with him. Now the brothers have control over their little brother. The debate came forward again. Actually, the scholars of tafsir said, that some of them said, again, now that he's in our hands, let's just slay Yusuf and be done with him. And other brothers, came back and they said, come on, guys, we did not agree to do that. We're not going to put our brother's blood on our hands for real, all right? Right? We're upset with him. He's snobbish. He's spoiled, right? But let's just cast him into the well in order for him to meet his own destiny, okay? He's not going to be our problem. And so the scholars say that they literally walked so far into the desert until they found one of those wells that has, it's not completely dry, right? But it doesn't have too much water, where Yusuf would drown either. And those types of wells, they're kind of like, very, very roughly dug in the desert. And so they are not made properly. They're not, like most wells, they would be built with like, rocks and stuff like that inside to keep them intact. This one was like, sort of like a hole in the desert type thing, because it was mainly made for, passerbys. It was made for caravans and, stuff like that. So it was not well maintained. And it's so far out in the desert, it's not close to any city. So I'm imagining them literally going like 30, 40 miles into the desert in order to find a place like this. And I'm thinking, Ya Allah, What was this little Yusuf thinking at that point, right? What was he thinking? He's a young boy. I mean, of course, the scholars have had disagreements. Some say he was 6, some say he was 16 or 18 or whatever. But he was a really young person. Let's say that he was a teenager, very young. Inexperienced in life, trusts his own brothers with his life, and here he is. Just standing there, hearing the conversations. Them deciding his own destiny. And of course, there are extended narrations about how Yusuf reacted to all of this. Some scholars say that he went to his brothers and he started begging them. What are you talking about? You're not serious, right? Are you going to literally leave me in the middle of the desert? And they said that one of his brothers slapped him really hard, that he fell on the desert, and he was really hurt on his face, and all these extremely painful, dramatic assumptions about what went on. The Quran does not tell us the details about what happened. It says, فَلَمَّا ذَهَبُوا بِهِ وَأَجْمَعُوا. They have had a vote or something, and the majority agreed to cast him in the darkness, to cast him in the dark depths of this hole, right? Something incredible happened at that moment. I want you to imagine the level of despair that Yusuf alayhi salam was going through. I mean, from the warmth of his father's arms, literally a few hours earlier, right? He woke up in the morning and he was with his dad. And then by the afternoon, he's in the midst of this situation where he's literally fearful for his life, and his brothers are going to leave him in the middle of absolutely nothing, right? And it was right then and there, when they eventually cast him in the well. That's what the scholars of tafsir say. When they eventually cast him in the well, it was deep, but not deep enough to kill him, right? And at the same time, it's not shallow enough for him to climb his way out because it doesn't have any rocks, right? So Yusuf alayhi salam fell, and the water, made the impact a little bit less on him. And then he found a little step. So he sat on it, and he was crying. They literally, he even had this, incredible shirt that he was wearing. And the scholars talked about this shirt, and I will mention this in 1 second. But here he is sitting in the middle of the well, sitting on that step, and he doesn't know what to do. And he was right then and there. The ayah here says, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him Jibreel alayhi salam with a prophecy. It was in the midst of that moment when the lowest of the lowest of his life, when he's fearful for his life, when he is scared that he will never see his parents again, when he's so hurt that it was his brothers that betrayed him, right? When he doesn't know what's going to happen to him, when literally no food, nothing, and he was naked. He was wearing pants, but he was not wearing any shirt, and I'll tell you why in a second. In the midst of that despair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the crown of prophethood on his head. It was in that moment that Yusuf alayhi salam became a prophet. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ. All the scholars say that this was wahi. This was a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He started talking to him through Jibreel alayhi salam. لَتُنَبِّئَنَّهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِمْ هَذَا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. One day, you will inform them that you know everything about what they plotted. One day you're going to sit in front of your brothers and tell them what happened, what went down, and you'll be able to talk to them freely and honestly, at that moment. One day you'll confront them. What does that do to Yusuf alayhi salam? 2 things. Number 1, he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with him and he will not abandon him. He just made him into a prophet. A prophet has a mission. But a prophet is not some type of a symbolic gesture from the Lord, right? The prophet is not an honorary position. Prophet is a mission. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, I'm going to make you a prophet, which means you will survive and you will do a lot of great work in this world, right? The other piece is that even if there was any despair in his heart about his brothers, any anger in his heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, hey, don't let this blind you right now. One day, you will get a chance to sit down and talk to your brothers about it. Okay? Don't get consumed with that right now. That's not why this is all of this is happening. This is not about your brothers. This is about you, about what I've destined you for, and this is about what you are supposed to achieve in this world, right? See, last time I told you that Surah Yusuf is about us understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His own tadbir. He has His own plan. He has His own organization of our lives. Put the effort, but realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will use your effort and will put them together, your efforts, and will put them together in order to achieve results that you've never imagined or thought of, but they are definitely better than anything you had planned for yourself, right? So Yusuf alayhi salam became a prophet at that moment, right? Some scholars say that he was 16, and others say that he was old enough to understand the value and the power of prophethood. And I want you to imagine, this always crosses my mind. Yusuf alayhi salam was not crowned prophethood, in a big ceremony. He was not sitting comfortable with his family, right? It was not under great circumstances where, you're sitting at home and Jibreel comes to you and, hey, by the way, you're going to become a prophet. It was in the absolute darkest moment of his life. He did not know what's going to happen to him, right? Alayhi wa ala nabiyyina as-salatu was-salam. But this is probably, most of the prophets were crowned prophethood, under similar circumstances. I mean, look at Musa alayhi salam. Where was he, right? Crossing the desert. He was scared. He was frightened. He was, exhausted. It was cold. It was dark. He was sweating, right? He was not sitting in some kind of a, ceremonial procession somewhere. It was in the midst of a difficult moment. He's walking back to Egypt, not knowing what's going to happen to him, but he needs to see his mom, right? And it was then and there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala crowned him as a prophet, right? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where was he? Enjoying a moment of leisure with his wife and family when he became a prophet? Where was he? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Relief from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes at a time when you are not expecting it. At a time when you are probably in a desperate situation. That's why you needed the relief. Right? The honor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't come to you when you are at your best circumstances. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was, hungry. He was cold. He was in that cave by himself, away from his family. And then the encounter was so shocking. It was so frightful. It was so frightening. It was so scary, right? And then he runs back, absolutely scared. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. See, these are revulsions, brothers and sisters. The moment where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala crowns you with His honor and dignity and relief is a very, very dark moment. So always ask yourself, have I hit rock bottom or not? Have I hit rock bottom or not? Is there still more patience and perseverance that I need to do or not, right? And when you turn your face to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you truly do it from the heart, knowing that you've exhausted every means in this world and it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can get you out of it or not, right? When you pray to Allah, do you truly pray, in like a lost ship at sea that is sending a mayday? Or it is just something that you do at your leisure? In fact, the scholars tell us something really incredible here about Yusuf alayhi salam, that he engaged in prayer when he was in the desert well. And he kept praying and praying and praying. So the angels heard him. So they went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they said to him, according to Wahb ibn Munabbih and many of the scholars, Ya ilahana inna sami'na sawtan wa du'a'an. Our Lord, we've heard a voice and a prayer. As-sawtu sawtu sabiy wa du'a'u du'a'u nabiy. The voice was that of a young man, but the prayer was that of a prophet. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to them, that is my worshipper, that is my prophet Yusuf. هذا عبدي يوسف يدعوني في غيابة الجب. He is praying to me from the dark depths of the desert well. See, he engaged in prayer. When he realized that there's literally nothing he could do, he engaged in prayer. And that's wallah, that's what I keep saying to my family and my kids and my brothers and sisters, our private conversations on the phone, is that, we've been really trying, as Tarbiyah, as a community, as a masjid, to bring all the services to our community, to really try as hard as possible to bring that Islamic education, that spirituality, to you. Now that you've been coming to us for so many years, I think it's time for us now to come to you But I always say that, okay, Islamic education can be replicated online, but you cannot replicate the human connection, the love, looking at my brothers and sisters straight in the eyes and feeling the warmth, of their facial expressions and their love. But you cannot replicate that. Let's face it, that's true. Social distancing made it difficult for us to sort of like see each other and spend time with each other and eat with each other. That's that the sense of community that we are all missing right now. But I keep saying to myself, all I need to do right now is to just do what I can, right? And I think everyone is in the same state of mind. Just do what you can. And when you feel that you've exhausted all the means, now becomes a time for prayer. You turn your face to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with sincerity and you say, Lord, I pray to you that relief will come soon. And I know that there's no one else in this universe that can help us except you. I'm not waiting on a CDC scientists. I'm not waiting on a politician. I'm not waiting on a wealthy corporation that will sponsor a grant. Okay? I am not waiting for the summer to come and kill the virus. I am waiting for the relief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come in the most powerful and sweeping and swift of ways to make this disappear suddenly like it appeared suddenly, right? That's how I feel in my heart, and remember my words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will interfere with his power and might to make all of this go away. So in the midst of that difficulty, he is crowned as Prophet alayhi salam, Yusuf. And I think that sort of like provided me with a different meaning to the Quranic paradigm. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Indeed, with difficulty there is ease. Not after difficulty. As difficulty is unfolding, ease is also unfolding. And as our lives are struggling with new challenges right now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing new types of relief right now. Wahb ibn Munabbih says that while all of this was happening, one of the brothers felt really, really bad. And he said to the rest of the brothers, guys, are we seriously doing this? We're going to leave our little brother. Our father entrusted us with him, and we've given him our words. We're going to leave our little brother in the middle of all this by himself? And they said to him, stop it. Stop it. We've already gone too far. There's no going back now. Indicates to me a little bit, and I will share with you other signs in the conversation that maybe the brothers of Yusuf became immediately remorseful, because of what they did. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still forgave them in the end, right? So they're not entirely evil people. They were overtaken by their jealousy and overtaken by their envy at that moment, right? Abdurrahman al-Suddi, the great mufassir, the great scholar of tafsir from Asbahan, right? He says that the shirt that Yusuf alayhi salam was wearing that day is actually the shirt of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Remember the story of Ibrahim when he was thrown in the fire, right? So of course he did not burn, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the fire, Kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim, right? Be cool and safe for Ibrahim. Allah commanded the fire to suspend its functionality of burning things. Right. As a matter of fact, let me reword, to suspend its functionality of burning Ibrahim, burning the flesh of Ibrahim. But Allah did not command it to basically not burn the clothes of Ibrahim. So Ibrahim was wearing this, I want you to think of like a shilwar qamis, right? So it's not like a full-fledged thobe. It's something that maybe goes all the way to your knees. That's what people used to wear, right? They called that qamis, okay? And so it burned it. So now Ibrahim alayhi salam, his aura is exposed and he's still in the middle of this thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him this shirt, according to many of the scholars of tafsir, and then he put that on, and that became, the shirt of salvation for Ibrahim alayhi salam. It stayed sort of like an heirloom legacy item in the family. Yaqub alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Ibrahim's son, inherited it, kept it in the family, and then gave it to his son Yaqub. And once Yaqub realized that his little son Yusuf, who's not the youngest, by the way, right? He's the second youngest, was going to become a prophet. He gave him the shirt. And that's the shirt that he was wearing, and he's so proud of it. So they literally took his shirt off before throwing him in the desert well. And he said to them, at least give me my shirt. If I die, it becomes my kafan, it becomes my shrouds. And if I survive, I don't have to be so cold. Guys, have a heart. And they said no, because they had another plan for that shirt, right? They wanted to use the shirt in order to prove to their father that, he was basically eaten by the wolves. So Yusuf alayhi salam, at this point, he became a prophet. He's comforted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His heart is at ease. He knows that Allah would not abandon him, right? The curtain comes down on that scene, okay? And then the curtain goes up again, the set changes and the curtain goes up again, and the sons are now coming at the end of the day. Remember, they took them after Fajr, now they're coming at the end of the day, okay? In order to talk to their father and tell him what happened. So this is ayah number 16. 16. وَجَاءُوا أَبَاهُمْ عِشَاءً يَبْكُونَ. At nightfall, they came to their father weeping. I wondered a lot about this, and I thought to myself, were they weeping because they were faking it in order to, excel in their deception? Or were they weeping out of remorse for what they've done? Something that they could not take back. I don't know. I know that most of you are probably inclined to think that they were just being deceptive, but I also feel that maybe some of them were genuine in their crying, and they realized that they've gone too far, and they were still driven by their malice and driven by their jealousy against their brother. But maybe some of them were genuinely crying for what they have done. So they came at nightfall to their father, weeping. And of course, the stress of the situation and the weight of their lying and what they've done did not allow them to even come up with a plausible lie. They did not come up with a plausible story, right? So they literally adopted or borrowed their father's lines. Remember when he was telling them earlier, I'm just concerned that you guys would get busy and then you're not looking after your brother. So I don't know, a wolf would eat him. So this is how unimaginative they were, that they literally just, that was their story, right? Oh, a wolf ate, our little brother, Yusuf. But of course, liars know that they're lying, right? So they said to their father, Ya Abana, and this is ayah number 17, Inna dhahabna nastabiq, Father, we were just like having a race. وَتَرَكْنَا يُوسُفَ عِنْدَ مَتَاعِنَا, and we left Yusuf by our stuff. فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ, so the wolf came and ate him. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا, and we know that you will never believe us. وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ, even if we are saying the truth, you won't believe us, because liars, they know they're liars, and that they're lying, and that people will not believe they're lying. So it's very obvious, right? Because again, liars know that they're lying. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا, you won't believe us, no matter how hard we try to convince you. I just want you to imagine for a second the impact of that on Yaqub alayhi salam, right? There's a loving father who saw so much hope in his little son, who felt that this son is going to become something amazing when he grows up, right? You're a parent. You've been a parent for many years. You've had these 11 sons and ups and downs. They were, they gave you a hard time. They have weird qualities in them. Sometimes you blame yourself for your parenting style and you don't know what is wrong with them, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with a child that will carry your legacy. You are a prophet yourself, right? And then, your little son is destined to become a prophet. Imagine how happy you are, and then imagine how devastated, absolutely severely devastated to know that you lost that son, right? Ibn Hibban, the great scholar, actually says that Yaqub passed out. That Yaqub literally passed out. He fell unconscious when they told him, Father, sorry, we lost our brother, right? And he passed out, and then the brothers gathered around him, Father, wake up, Father, wake up. They tried to resuscitate him to no avail. And it was literally until morning, like the entire night, he's passed out, because remember they came back at nightfall. So Ibn Hibban says that, up until the morning, Yaqub alayhi salam was unconscious, and they started having all these regrets and remorse. Waylun lana min yawmiddin, woe unto us from what's going to happen to us on the day of judgment. They're still concerned about Yawm al-Qiyamah, right? ضيعنا أخانا وقتلنا أبانا. We've lost our little brother, and we have brought death upon our father. SubhanAllah. Subhanallah. Again, such an intense situation at this point, right? Tells you a lot about the struggles of the human soul, about the definitions of right and wrong, but the vulnerability of each and every one of us. I mean, remember, these are not the sons of an average man, of an ordinary man. These are descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Their father is a prophet, their grandfather is a prophet, their great-grandfather is a prophet, right? It's a family of prophets. There's no deficiency of knowledge. There's no deficiency of spirituality. There's no deficiency of a support system. There's no deficiency of God's presence in their lives. I mean, think about it. Yet, not one, not two, all 11 collude with each other to commit such a heinous act. SubhanAllah. Never take it for granted, right? Any of us, every single one of us, could be in a situation like this. We are tested and we fail the test. You always want to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you avoid those tests, and if it's Allah's will for you to be tested, that you will pass the test successfully. Allahumma ameen. Right? Yaqub regained his consciousness, and he basically, in the midst of his devastation, he asked him what happened. What happened to him? Oh, Father, he was eaten by the wolf. So he says to them, is there anything left from my son that I can bury? Is there anything left from him? It's impossible. It was entirely eaten by the wolf, right? Oh, yes, Father. Well, this is going to hurt you, but we have to give it to you because you requested it. That's when they gave him the blood-stained shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam. It was not stained by the blood of Yusuf. They actually concocted a little plan. They slaughtered a tiny little lamb and they stained the shirt with the lamb's blood. Right? It was not human blood. Yes, Father, here's the shirt. Yaqub alayhi salam is a prophet. He's smart. And so he picks up the shirt and he inspects the shirt. Initially, he takes the shirt and he buries his face in the shirt and he cries. But then he looks at the shirt. The shirt is intact. See the stupidity of evil, right? Like, even when they're trying to come up with a plan, the plan itself is not plausible, and they did not even execute the plan properly, right? SubhanAllah, right? What kind of meticulous wolf is this? That ate my son and did not leave a single bite mark on the shirt. The shirt is not torn. How is this even possible? How is this even possible, right? That's when he started realizing that there's something's going on here, right? That things are not what they seem. He was probably in denial the whole time, by the way, right? It's impossible that my sons would do something like this. But now I think he's about to accept it. And then he says to them, Al-Qurtubi says that he requested from his sons, Dulluni ala ibni, Dulluni ala waladi, tell me where he is, right? فإن كان حيا رددته إليه وإن كان ميتا كفنته ودفنته. If he's still alive, guys, I can still forgive you. Just tell me where my son is. If he's still alive, I will take him back. And if he's dead, I will put him in shrouds, wrap him in shrouds, and bury him. Give him a proper burial, right? An honorable burial. At least tell me where my son is. That's when they got really frightened, and they didn't know what to do. Father, we told you he was eaten by the wolf. We don't know where he is. And Yaqub alayhi salam is absolutely devastated. So a couple of them came up with Qurtubi says, they came up with another plan. They went and they captured a wolf. See how far criminals are willing to go in order to sustain a lie? They captured a wolf, beat it up, injured it, and bled it, and brought back that wolf in shackles to Yaqub alayhi salam. Father, that is the wolf that used to eat our livestock and kill our animals, and he's the one that killed Yusuf. He's the one that ate Yusuf, right? Yaqub alayhi salam looks at the wolf and he says to him with absolute, utter, overflowing grief and anguish, Lima faja'tani fi waladi. Why did you break my heart Why'd you do this to my son? لِمَ فَجَعْتَنِي فِي وَلَدِي. And the wolf is just looking at him. It's just an animal. And Yaqub alayhi salam, Qurtubi says, Yaqub alayhi salam as a father, he needed answers. He needed answers. My sons are accusing you of breaking my heart and eating my son. لِمَ فَجَعْتَنِي فِي وَلَدِي. So he turns his face to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma ya Rabbi antiq. Lord, make this animal speak. A prophet speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a moment of anguish, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant the animal the ability to speak. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused the wolf to speak. قال يا نبي الله, prophet of God, ما أكلت لحمه ولا مزقت جلده. It was not me that ate his flesh, and it wasn't me that tore his skin. وما لي عهد بولدك. I don't even know who your son is. I have never met him before. وإن لحوم الأنبياء محرمة علينا. The flesh of prophets is not accessible for us. We can't eat it. And it was the wolf that established its own innocence from the accusation that it was the one that ate Yusuf alayhi salam. Now the father knows the truth. Now the father knows the truth, right? Now he knows that his sons committed that crime, and he's like, I don't know what is breaking his heart more, really, when you think about it, right? The fact that he lost his son that was going to become a prophet, or the fact that his 11 sons are the ones that caused that to happen, right? Absolute devastation from both sides, right? Of course, when he realizes all of this, he says to them, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. It was your nufus, it was your nafs that has caused you to perpetrate this crime. This is something that you guys have colluded to do. I don't believe you anymore. I don't trust what you're saying to me anymore, right? This is a father that knows that his son is possibly still alive, right? That is the tiny little relief that came in that moment to Yaqub alayhi salam, right? See, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his tadbir. Right. There was a tiny little moment of relief for Yaqub alayhi salam that maybe his son Yusuf is possibly still alive. Right? And he confronted his sons. I know that what you're telling me is not the truth, and your nafs has made it possible for you to commit a crime. I know that that's what happened. And then what does he say? فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Now that he knew that this was all part of the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, you know what? I will exercise beautiful patience. Not angry patience. Not patience that is mixed up with despair. Not patience that is mixed up with cussing. Not patience that is mixed up with losing my temper, right? Patience that is not followed by complaining, that is not followed by despair, right? True, beautiful patience and accepting, content in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as in a way that is befitting of a beautiful, honorable prophet like Yaqub alayhi salam. And like I said, at that moment, it was a comforting thought for him to kind of realize that, maybe my son did not actually die. And then the curtain comes down. And then the set is changed and the curtain goes up again. And now we are back with Yusuf alayhi salam in that place, in the desert well, right? His heart is a little bit at ease right now. And, he has been crowned, as a prophet. He knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for him to have, to do something incredible with his life. He knows that one day he'll be able to confront his brothers. His heart is at ease. And then the most incredible thing happens. He looks up and then there is a rope coming down. He doesn't know where the rope is coming from, right? Ayah number 19. What has happened? A caravan that was basically crossing the desert wanted some water. So they sent the man that draws the water. Every caravan has a man that is responsible for the water. The man took his bucket and he let the bucket down with the rope in order to fill it with water And, Yusuf is looking up and he sees this bucket coming with a rope. He probably thought that, Alhamdulillah, oh my God, Allah answered my prayer. My brothers regretted what they did and they came back to get me out of here. Or my father probably knew about it. He's a prophet. Maybe God talked to him and he's here, to get me out of here. Alhamdulillah, man, I'm out of here. So he holds on tight to the bucket. And then the water drawer up there, he's pulling and pulling, and it's kind of heavy, but remember, Yusuf alayhi salam is young, so maybe it wasn't that heavy. All right. And the minute this man saw that there's a boy holding onto the bucket, he said, "Ya Bushra, hada ghulam." Oh my God, such good news! There's a boy. We came here, we were bargaining for water, and here we are. We got more than what we bargained for. We got a boy. Yusuf alayhi salam looks at them and is like, "Oh my God, who are these people? Who are these strangers?" Right? I mean, put yourself in his shoes. But he probably still felt, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'm going to tell them my story right now. They're going to take me to my family. Okay? Again, see? Sometimes we have expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those expectations are not met. What does that mean to you? That you despair? When your plan doesn't go as you wanted it, that you lose your mind, that you start cussing, that you start drinking, that you stop praying, right? That you give up? See what is happening to him? One bad event after the other. One bad event after the other. He thought that he was out of the hole, literally. And then what do these people do? Subhanallah. The ayah tells you, وَأَسَرُّوهُ بِالْضَاعَةِ. They took him in and tied him up like he is a commodity. They dehumanized him as a boy. I am sure that he was screaming his lungs out, trying to tell them what happened. My father is a prophet, Yaqub. Take me to my family. It's like 35 miles from here. Right? Nothing. You are going to be our slave. You are a commodity and we are going to sell you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is Yusuf supposed to do? Give up hope? Lord, why are you doing this to me? What is up with this roller coaster? I'm with my father in the morning, and then I'm in a pit hole in the evening, and then you make me into a prophet, and then you sell me as a slave? Lord, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? Did he say that? Sallallahu alayhi wa ala nabiyyina. Right? Prophets would not do that. That's the lesson that we're learning here. The tadbir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Events of your life are negative in and of themselves, but when you put them all together like the pieces of Lego, you'll be able to see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is never, ever bad because it is designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And then, this caravan was basically going to Egypt, and we are almost done here. They were going to Egypt, and they sold him over there, and they did not sell him for a lot of money either. وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ دَرَاهِمَ مَعْدُودَةٍ in ayah number 20. The price the price tag on him was very little. I mean, after all, they did not put any effort. They just found him in the desert and they sold him. Who bought him? A noble man from Egypt bought him, right? We don't know what happened, after that conversation and the nobleman buying him. But the curtain comes down and then the set changes and the curtain goes up again. And what do we see on stage, right? We see this nobleman, this very powerful and wealthy politician, right? This powerful politician and his wife, they're sitting at their house and they're talking matter of fact that Yusuf is now their slave already, right? This is ayah number 21. وَقَالَ الَّذِي اشْتَرَاهُ مِن مِصْرَ لِامْرَأَتِهِ أَكْرِمِي مَثْوَاهُ. The one that purchased him from Egypt said to his wife, honor him and take care of him. عَسَى أَن يَنْفَعَنَا. He will possibly be very helpful for us. أَوْ نَتَّخِذَهُ وَلَدًا. Or we might adopt him as our own son. Okay. What is the story of this nobleman? Al-Aziz, right? Abdullah ibn Abbas and the scholars, they call him Qutufir. But I think this is sort of an Arabization or an Arabization of his name in the Bible, Potiphar, right? In the Bible, this man's name is Potiphar. And we don't know the details of what happened, but we know that this very powerful nobleman of Egypt, Potiphar, purchased him. And now he lives in the household of this very, very politically powerful man. Now, historians say that Potiphar was not an unfair man. He was a decent human being. He was fair, but he was both sterile and impotent. He cannot have children. He cannot be with a woman, right? But he's also very, very wealthy, which indicates to us that Yusuf was truly spared from servitude, from the hard labor of possibly being with other people, with other slaves working the fields or building the monuments of the pharaohs or whatever. But he was spared from all of that because he now became the house slave of this very powerful nobleman. But at the same time, it also means that Yusuf alayhi salam, at this very young age, was inserted into that culture of Egyptian high society. And any high society is riddled with corruption, with decadence, with excess, with conspiracies, with collusion, right, with plotting. That is the type of life that he has to deal with right now. But it also indicates that that is the life of the powerful. That's the tiny little closed club of the powerful. And I want you to imagine what has happened now in his life. Literally, within, 24 hours. In the morning, he's with his father, loved, embraced by his father. And then betrayed by his brothers, goes into the pit hole. And then becomes a slave, and then now has access to one of the most powerful households of all of Egypt. All in probably just one day. See? That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been planning all along. And that's why the ayah says, the second half of ayah number 21, وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ. And as such, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have given Yusuf a firm place on this earth. We have empowered Yusuf. Allah is preparing him for his mission. Now he has access to the high society of Egypt. Yes, he's still a slave, but you know what's going to happen down the road. He's going to become a nobleman of Egypt himself. And Potiphar, again, did not just want him as a slave. Potiphar possibly wanted him as a son as well, because he did not have any children. And now that he has access to this, Yusuf alayhi salam will become one of few prophets that was able to change their societies through positions of power and through political influence. And that, is sort of like kind of rare. Next time, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about, the next scene, after him spending a while, possibly a couple of years, in the house of Potiphar. Next time, inshallah, we're going to talk about his encounter with the lady of the house, the noble woman of the house, Zulaykha, as Qurtubi and some of the scholars call her, and how she seduced this young man that was supposed to be treated like her son, but she seduced him. Inshallah, we're going to talk about this and, all the events of that seduction that will basically throw the life of Yusuf alayhi salam back to tremendous disarray. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our good deeds. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us our sins. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us all strong on the path of the deen. Brothers and sisters, jazakumullahu khair. And I am trying to access the app, inshallah, so that I'm able to take some of your questions here if you have any. So please go ahead and post that, inshallah, as a comment, and I will do what I can to address your question. Let me just access it here really quick. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for tuning in and for listening very attentively. Jazakumullah khair. So please go ahead and post your questions if you guys have any. Bismillah. All right, any questions? Okay. Well, Jazakumullah khair, please remember us in your du'as. If you still have questions, please, you can always submit them later. We will respond in the comments section. Remember again to visit live.tarbiya.org. You will be able to see the three-pronged approach that we have taken in this crisis: pray, serve, and give. Pray gives you access to all the spiritual engagements and activities that you can be doing right now, inshallah, getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the programs that we have in that regard. Serve will give you an idea about possible ways to volunteer in the community, and give will also offer you some ideas as to how to give back to Tarbiyah and to your masjid and to community in these difficult times. Jazakumullah khair again for being with us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, and I'm looking forward, inshallah, to continue with Surah Yusuf next week. Thank you guys so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.